it should be great if a lot of people wouldn't have an opinion on something they don't know things about. It's.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time at the channel, hit subscribe right now. Rowan, so great to talk to you. First time we get to talk to each other. When we're talking, we're about a month away of Wederkeer, the new album. And just to go straight into it, Wederkeer, a Dutch word that we can interpret as simple as return, but could also be rebirth, maybe even resurrection. How should we interpret this title?
Absolutely, and the good thing is it's multi-interpretable, and for us it's like that as well. First we said it's a return because it really feels like a return after 5 years of not having any release. But it's also, when you look at the cover art, it's also like a return to nature, a return to yourself. The man is growing into the tree is growing out of the man. It is the return, the rebirth. Well, I think there are a lot of possibilities to...
Yeah. Now, what is not something that is different with this album is that, just to kind of talk about that real quick, this is another album with Napalm, and ever since the band was picked up by a label in the first place that was Napalm all those years ago, and you've always stuck to the same team, what's the secret sauce? Like, why is this partnership working so well for you guys? Because this is becoming more and more a unique situation where a band stays with one label throughout all this time.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think the secret is that Napalm is also evolving. So when we signed with Napalm, it was 2007. We signed for Valhalla Wacht. And of course the back catalog, the strijdlust is geboren. But back then, I think we only saw like once or twice we saw someone from Napalm at our gigs or whatever,
right.
And during the years we got different artist relations managers, the promo team got bigger and the social media team got there. So they were evolving as well, and I think it is nice to have a growing team, and you can also pitch different and new ideas to a new team and an evolved team. So I think that's one of the reasons we stuck with Napalm.
Okay.
And also, it's a good size label for us, I think.
You mentioned that one of the ways that we can interpret this album is the returning to nature, or embracing nature. When people follow you personally, not the band, but you, it's very quickly clear that you also have a deep love for nature. You love to travel, and I think specifically mountains are very appealing to you. You post a lot of travel pictures. You get to travel obviously a lot with the band as well. With all the wonderful places you've visited in your life, is there that one place that is still on the bucket list that that one day you want to get to?
Well, there was one on the bucket list, but we went there about 3 weeks ago. It was New Zealand. There was something that my wife and me, we always wanted to go over there. So this time we said, let's do it. We only had 2.5 weeks, but it was like a bit now or we don't know when, because it needs to be closed for a few years. So we got the chance and we traveled to New Zealand.
New Zealand. Oh, I bet. For sure. New Zealand, obviously, now forever linked to the Lord of the Rings movies, and to make the connection which I assume have something to do maybe as well with why you wanted to go to New Zealand so much. Because to make the link then with the band, if I'm not mistaken, the main warrior in your video, Drink met de Goden, has a Tolkien tattoo on his shoulder, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good observation, by the way, because it was only briefly,
Hey, it's all about the details. It's all about the details. Look at that. Even Germanic warriors, over 1,000 years ago, were already fans of Lord of the Rings. Fantastic. Awesome. So let's go into the album that's gonna come out. You've released a couple of videos already. Maybe actually, stay with the one song that I just mentioned, Drink met de Goden, which I know that there is gonna be an English version of that as well with a different title. But basically that means, having a drink with the gods, and it's a reference to, making your way when you fall in battle to Valhalla, or that's at least a story that's portrayed. It's an interesting thing because, in folk metal, that if you have to put a label on the music, which people always want to do, Heidevolk will be described as a folk or a pagan metal band. Yeah. In so many cases, folk metal is very quickly reduced or judged as it's just drinking and partying. That's never the case with Heidevolk. There seems to be a different mentality. I mean, sure, there can be fun. I'm not saying that you guys are never fun, but there seems to be always like, hey, there has to be a genuity to it. There has to be an authenticity to it first. Is that a right way of looking at your band?
Yeah, I think so. I think the authenticity is very important with us, because of course we have tales about drinking and about feasting, but most of the songs are about achieving higher goals, are about carving our own path. We always have this saying that the things that will be remembered after you when you die are your deeds. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very important theme to it all. And I mean, you don't want to be remembered as the one always feasting and drinking, but you want to do some things that have purpose, some things that will last in memory. So yeah, definitely we are folk, we are pagan, but there's more to folk and pagan than just drinking.
It has become a bit of a cliche at this point, but we've seen a lot of people put out albums throughout and after the pandemic that are a little darker in nature, that are a little bit more subdued. Maybe also the case with Heidevolk. Is this a little bit of a more down-to-earth album?
Yeah, it is a darker album, and partly because of the pandemic, but also I think because of everything that happened, that preceded the pandemic and that happened during the pandemic. Because, everybody has seen that. Like things like social media and in general, people are getting more pushy to say you either like this or you either like that, you're for or you're against, and like there's never a middle way anymore.
Yeah.
And I think this album is more or less about looking into yourself and trusting yourself in making choices, trusting yourself in that you are someone that can think for yourself and make choices for yourself. And when people urge you into to a place where you have to choose, that it's not always you have not always to choose between two sides. You can, think
right.
a different way, and sometimes you do not have to have an opinion about something. I mean, it should be great if a lot of people wouldn't have an opinion on something they don't think about. It's
yeah. on the new album, there's a couple of songs that are Futhark Runes or named after Futhark Runes. Where is that something that everybody in the band shares a passion for? Or is there one particular person that comes with, hey, this is a story I want to tell? Where does that inspiration come from?
For us to use the runes, it was kind of we had it coming, I think, because we sing a lot about the Germanic mythology. We read a lot about the Germanic mythology, and we wanted to create an album this time that was not one particular story. So what we said, okay, maybe what we can do, we can use the runes and we can use the qualities, the meanings of the runes, and create stories, and well, created to the runes. So we took the Futhark and we chose some runes, or we were already writing songs and we chose a rune that goes with it. And that way we created 12 songs with 12 different runes, and the meaning of the rune and the song are intertwined. And to answer your question of who comes up with that stuff, well, I think the last few albums, it was mostly me that drove the whole concept. And everybody joined in to create some material, write stories about it, etc. But I think this time when I laid down the idea of the runes, it was like, okay, it's open for us all to work on. Everybody embraced this, and that's the way Wederkeer works.
Rowan is a medieval inspired first name. Does that mean that passion was handed down from your parents?
I don't know if it was handed down from my parents. I mean, my father is a big Lord of the Rings fan, so I have that passion for my father. But and my father is also a big history fan, but not like a specific kind of history, or like I want Germanic mythology. You can ask him about history question, and he knows it. I think this was more a personal choice. In my younger years, I bought this little book. I think it was called Thunder Gods and something, but it was basically the Snorra Edda and in children's stories.
Okay, cool.
So I read it all when I was really young, and then I bought a second book, and etc.
That must have been very, very influential for sure. Awesome. Yeah. Now, talking about telling stories, and one of the unique characters is that you guys sing in Dutch, which doesn't happen a lot. Which is, if you were a Norwegian band singing in Norwegian, nobody would even ask about that. But there aren't too many bands that sing in Dutch. You have covered some of your own songs in English, or created an English version. Those songs tend to do pretty good internationally, but they're maybe not really the essence of the song for you guys. How is that for the band? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the singles that have been released in Dutch will also be made available in English, I assume, more for the international audience. But I assume that when you play these songs live, they will all be in Dutch.
Yeah, I think so. And there's kind of a difference when you look at, for example, a song like "Wolf in My Heart."
Yeah.
I wrote that song in English.
There's a wolf in my heart that is fighting to survive.
That was actually the first Heidevolk song that I wrote the lyrics in English. So we made two versions of it, and the Dutch version is a bonus version because it's not the original version.
Okay.
And this time the two songs, Klauwen vooruit and Drink met de Goden, I always forget the first title.
The Hunter's Claws and Valhalla, I believe, right?
The Gods, yeah. And the original versions were Dutch, and the English versions are translations. But yeah, I think it is always finding a balance in that, you know. If it were up to me, don't tell the singers, by the way, I would rewrite the whole album in English as well, so we could share the story with more people. I mean, we do have liner notes, and I think there will be a track commentary on YouTube available soon. But you know, it's a nice way, it's a nice gesture also to the fans to have some more insight in the lyrics, and also to sing along when they don't know the Dutch words. But yeah, I think mostly the tracks we will be playing live will be the Dutch ones. Although when we have the crowd for it, I mean, when we're in the US or in Canada, I think we could do the English versions as well.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to lose that uniqueness that Heidevolk is also known for, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we won't write an English album just for the sake of it. I mean, we will be authentic Dutch.
Verlangend naar de zegetocht, onder vaandels van het vader.
You're obviously going to be extremely busy with promoting this album. It's not only 5 years since you had an album out, it's also been several years since you had the luxury to do a lot of promotion and playing live. A lot of things have been announced already, but for all the fans watching this interview, what should they know about Heidevolk in 2023?
Well, I think 2023 is going to be a big year for us, because last year, 2020, was of 2022.
I know it feels 2020 feels like a forever state.
It was 2020, but it was one very long year.
Yes, exactly.
No, but 2022 was actually our 20th birthday. Though where we came from, and I mean, the whole situation with the virus, etc., and we were really busy with recording the album, doing pre-production, working on artwork, etc. We didn't get the real chance to celebrate the birthday of Heidevolk. Right. So I think this year, I mean, it's our 21st birthday. I mean, all the more reason for a party, you know.
Exactly.
So, I think this will be a big year for us. We got a release coming up. We will celebrate that birthday, and I mean, live shows are back on the menu. I mean, what better thing could there be? It's been such a miss, you know, with the last few years, like doing a lot of shows to be reduced to none. I mean, you know, sometimes with work, I mean, oh, you got to work 2 days less. It's like, okay, but you still have to work like 3 days. But for the shows, it was like from everything to zero. And that was crazy. And now the world is open again, and I cannot even imagine how it was 1 year ago. So
exactly,
very happy about that, and we're going to celebrate that. We're trying to book a lot of shows. We're definitely looking for a nice tour to travel around, and hopefully do the US and Canada as well soon.
Till that can get announced, we'll have to come to Europe and see you guys play. I'll see you at the Grass Pop Festival in June, and awesome. We'll catch up with some beer or meat or water, depending on the heat of the day, and see you in person. Rowan, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. Exciting times with the launch, and can't wait to see many more announcements of tours and festivals that I know are in the works.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for the interview, and see you on Graspop.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it, and subscribe to the channel.